to turn off your camera and use the chat. We won't be using gallery view in the recording. Okay, so I just wanted to give a little information about Boom and how it started, and I'll try to be quick. Chaos is the name of the nonprofit behind Boom. We came together, we started the nonprofit back in 2012 when we wanted to present some art as part of the Democratic National Convention when it came to Charlotte. They sort of sequestered everyone uptown, and we felt like that wasn't the best way for people to experience truly what Charlotte is all about. And so we organized a series of performing and visual arts to be in the uptown space while the convention was happening. And through that, a bunch of artists met each other and were like, we need to keep doing stuff. What are some other cool things that we can do? And so pretty soon the idea of Boom was born, but we took us a while to get it off its feet. But the first year was just a group of performing artists groups got together and were like, we want to produce this festival. It came from the idea of the Fringe Festival, which is an international festival at this point. It was founded in Edinburgh, Scotland, and basically there was a big performing arts festival there. None of the edgy, newer artists got into the festival, so they're like, we're going to come and take advantage of the crowds that are in Edinburgh for the Performing Arts Festival, and they performed in literally the fringes of the cities, in the coffee shops and warehouses and bars around the city, and they were trying new, risky, experimental work. So that was the model that Boom started off of, with a group of artists that were creating original work in Charlotte. Sometimes we feel like the local artists don't get the acclaim from the community that they should, because there's some really great local art happening here. And we thought if we all got together and produced our art on the same weekend, it would make a bigger splash and we could share audiences and get people more excited about it. So it's grown from that year significantly. Right before we actually started the festival that year, we added an outdoor stage and an outdoor living room, which has grown into our intersection, which is now bigger than the Fringe piece of the festival. And intersection is sort of an outdoor free experience that, is family friendly depending on the time of day. We get a little more risky in the evening, as we know there are less children around. So that's the basic structure of the festival, those two pieces. The festival grew really quickly, and so we knew we were meeting some needs of the community. And we've always had a lot of amazing work apply, and our goal is to include as much of it as we can. We also are committed to paying artists, so that does limit the number of people we can include. So there, and I'll get into that a little bit more when we get into the applications. Boom has always been really diverse, both in artistic genre and in the cultural background of the artists participating in the festival. And that is really central to who we are and what we believe the festival can and should be. It should really be a representation of what art in Charlotte is and what we as artists here have to offer. We do include regional and national artists as well, but the festival is mostly local. The idea about bringing other artists in is it gives us an opportunity to sort of experience something that we might not be able to experience in Charlotte. So the application is open nationally, and if you know somebody from another city doing some really amazing work, please encourage them to apply as well. But probably in the last year, definitely we had almost all local artists. But I would say we really try to go for at least 75% local artists, or artists with some connection to Charlotte, whether they're living here full-time or connected in some way. And we are a small organization. Again, we were a group of artists that got together and we're like, more art, more art. And so I have a background in dance, and my company performed in the first Boom. Manoj is the background in architecture, so he helps design this artistic event. And Kia is a writer. We're the staff. We'll hire a couple more people just for the spring as we gear up for the festival. Yeah, and we're always looking around and saying, you know, who is not here and how can we make sure that we're really truly representative of the diversity of Charlotte and how do we invite those folks in? And so this is a part of an initiative to make the application process more accessible and to answer any questions folks might have so that everyone feels invited to apply because we really can't wait to see and hear what you have been working on. Jay Ward did his first show at Boom 2018. So I'm gonna let him tell you about that experience and why it mattered.
Yeah. So thanks, Cameron. So in 2008, well, really in 2017, I went to Boom and I saw Carlos Robeson, who's a poet and screenwriter and playwright here in Charlotte. And I saw the work that he put up and how it grew, how it grew his own art. And I really started thinking, like, what can I do to stretch myself? I was kind of in a rut in terms of what I was doing. And I wanted to find a way to stretch what I was doing and kind of be experimental and find a way to grow in my art and do something that was scary. So I submitted the application and I sold what I would do. And then like the process of actually writing it and, memorizing it and trying to figure out how to present this work was scary, but also really exciting. And performing it, I performed on some pretty big stages. And Boom was a smaller stage, but because the work was so personal to me, it was a 45-minute one-man play with some poetry in it that kind of explored the death of my father and my own, my own revelations about how that has affected me throughout the years. So performing that in front of a group of people was really scary, but scary in a good way. I think it helped elevate my art. I think it helped me elevate my own expectations of my own art. And we have a saying in the spoken word community or the slam community. We have a saying where, the goal is to get free on the stage. And I can confidently say that's the first time I ever actually felt free on the stage, kind of really releasing these things and in front of a room full of strangers. It was very, very exciting for me. So much, in fact, that every year after that, I was asked to join the core team of artists to kind of review applications coming into the next year's Fringe and the next year's intersection. And I was extremely happy to do that. I've been doing that since 2018. Really happy to be working with this organization. But also just being at Fringe, just being at Boom, it's kind of like walking through a tunnel of weirdness or like a hall of mirrors where the mirrors are actually other artists that are doing things that you didn't anticipate they would be doing, all of which to me is very inspirational. I find a lot of inspiration from other people's art forms and seeing somebody roll themselves in cloth and dance on a railroad track, although is unexpected, gets my mind going in different directions artistically. So yeah, that's my background with Boom. And I think if you've been to Boom, maybe that resonates. And if you haven't been to Boom, hopefully that scares you and intimidates you in a really good way, excites you about filling out an application.
I love that, Jay. Thank you so much. So two things Jay mentioned that I want to touch on is the structure of the organization. So again, we're a small 3-person team. We have a board of directors. We are a nonprofit. But we also have a core artist team that sort of helps shape the vision of the festival each year, what needs to change, what needs to stay the same, what new things we want to try. And we also take a lot of inspiration from the applications we get. Again, we would love to say yes to everyone. And we can't do that. And we recognize that we have, a certain level of capacity, but we are interested in how can we include as many different kinds of things as possible. So if you have something that you want to submit that's outside sort of the realm of the things that we're talking about, we're interested in trying to figure it out. And if we can't figure it out for this year, we're interested in figuring out how to make it happen in the future. So I think that especially Fringe is really this space for this risk taking. Like Jay said, it pushed him to sort of try something new in his own art form. And so that's what we're interested in, sort of this risk taking, this collaboration, opportunities, especially with cross genre collaboration. How does it work if a spoken word artist and a dance artist come together, what happens, those kinds of things. And I think participating in Boom sort of leads to that. So Fringe is, which is, I feel like we've talked about a good bit, is indoor shows that are up to an hour long. So you can submit a short form, which will be then combined with some other shows to make a full 1 hour show. Or you can submit long form, which is a like 40 to 60-minute show of your own work. So those are the two options for Fringe. Fringe shows are $10 ticket. You go, and it'll be an indoor performance where people are buying tickets and coming and participating in art that way. They're non-traditional performance venues that we are sort of transforming into performance venues typically. So that's sort of Fringe. And then Intersection is the outdoor sort of the intersection of art and community where people can share their work. They can perform on the outdoor stage. There can be installation works or site-specific performances. We are also going to add vendors this year, though that won't be that's not the primary part of this conversation. But if that's something you're interested in, we're hoping to come out with an application for that in the next couple months. So, keep your eye out for that. Jay, Kia, Manoj, is there anything I've left out before we walk through the application that you feel like we need to make sure we touch on? Got a thumbs up from Jay.
Yeah, no, I think you covered everything. So yeah, Fringe is, I guess it's mostly performing arts, whereas Intersection can be a lot more. And we are not a place to officially announce it yet, but we should be at Camp Northland again. We are figuring out the details. So in Plaza Midwood, as some of you know, we were so restricted in the space. We are we had so little space to do stuff in, but the great thing about Camp Northland is there's a lot of space. So, and last year or this year, they were kind enough to give us a whole campus for the weekend. So yeah, it opens up possibilities for outdoor performances, installations, a whole variety of things. And I think the space itself is inspiring people to try something different.
Yeah, thanks, Manoj. And once we officially announce the location, we may release another application specifically for site-specific work. But if you want to go ahead and apply and you're interested in site-specific work, feel free to use the Intersection application and go ahead and submit that. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the applications. I'm going to share my screen. Here is the Boom website. If you haven't been on it, come join us here. This is the homepage. You can get to Boom 2023 by clicking here or just clicking this. Oh, never mind. You can't get to it from clicking that picture. I thought we could. Or maybe just my internet's slow. All right. Well, luckily I already have the Intersection application open, so we will go through that one first. Intersection/Street 2023 submission application. Boom is an artist-led celebration of contemporary art in Charlotte. Boom 23 will be our 6th Boom Festival, and we're back to a 3-day structure. We did 2 days in 2022 because we were coming back from pandemic. Boom 23 will be held Friday, April 1st through Sunday, April 23rd. And it'll be like Friday afternoon or Friday evening, and then most of the day Saturday into Saturday night, and then Sunday sort of afternoon. Boom will be made up of, that's just say 2 parts. Boom Fringe, which we've talked about. I'm going to skip over this, but if you want to read about it again, you can here. Boom Intersection is for our outdoor performances, 15 to 60 minutes, as well as visual art installation in outdoor or public spaces. And we really value both of those things. The Intersection application is due on January 31st. So if you submit now, that's great. We applaud you for getting ahead of things. We will not do the review until early February, and we'll make notifications by February 23rd. Selected acts can perform or present their work on the Intersection stage, 10 to 50 minute time slots. one time over the weekend, or you can present an art installation. Music, dance, spoken word, collaborative works, theater, performance art, visual art, comedy, mime, and other creative explorations are welcome. The Boom intersection is free for audiences and open to the public. All artists will receive a stipend for their work. We are again committed to paying all the artists, so that means that stipend is not big, and we usually have a an amount for a single artist and a different amount for a group of artists. We provide basic tech and sound and lights as needed at the venues, along with a technician to run the tech. So we'll have, mics and speakers and all of that on the stage space. If you need a mic in a different space for site specific, we will work with you to try to figure that out. Camp North End is fairly well lit. We'll add a couple extra lights to the stage space. And then there will be a tech to run your music or help you connect your instruments or whatever you need to get done to present your work. If selected, artists will need to provide marketing material to us and sign a contract. And then you're also responsible for being a part of the marketing of the festival. So we market the whole festival, but we want you to market your, if you get selected, we want you to market your piece of the festival. And that's really important. Participating artists are also expected to be an integral part of the festival. So you will receive a pass to see other shows. We hope that you'll engage in artist talks and other artist networking experiences. So don't expect to come present your art and leave. We want you to be a part of the festival at large, and we think you'll get a lot out of it. And I feel like that's enough. Here is my email address, chaoscharlotte@gmail.com. And if you have questions, feel free to send me an email. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Here at the top, it has my email address because I'm logged in. So make sure the email address you want on file is the one that's listed here. There's also a place to write your email. So if your Gmail is not your favorite email, but that's the easiest way to fill out the form, feel free to fill out the form and we will try to use this email address. Artist name or organization name, website. Contact name is different. Like if your group is called Taproot, but your name is Cameron, you will write Taproot here in the organization name and you contact Cameron. We have email on here twice. I'll take that off. Sorry. Contact phone number, zip code. This is just so we can track where the artists are. This question is about connectivity to a neighborhood or community. We do some events throughout the year. We're in particular locations and we love to work with artists that are from those parts of town or have a connection to those parts of town. So this is just you don't have to answer this question if you don't want to, but we'd love to just sort of know more about you. Here is a list of genres. We've also left other open in case what you do doesn't fit into one of these more traditional categories. I will say that on our website, we are going to, we have a limited number of categories just so it's easy for people to search. So you might get pigeonholed later, but feel free to express yourself in whatever art genre you want to write there. Title of your work. It's okay if it doesn't have a title yet, but if it does, share it with us. How long is your performance or installation? And is this flexible? I think that's pretty describing. Describe your work in 200 words. We're reading a lot of these applications, so we're just going to keep it short and sweet, but give us enough information to really understand what you want to do and how you want to do it. One thing I hear from grantors when I'm writing applications, but I always like to share is if you're concerned, have somebody that doesn't know your work read it and make sure they know what you're sharing. Because sometimes we get like in our own work so much that when we describe it, it is, so specific to our art form. So just know that the people that are reviewing these, it's going to be a swath of a bunch of different art forms. The size of cast or group, if you are working with a cast or group, what you think you'll need tech-wise. So this could just be a microphone or a space to hang your art or whatever it is that you need. Just share it with us. Excuse me. Schedules are decided by committee because we're trying to make sure that two things that are similar aren't next to each other and that we don't need to change the whole space between one act and the next. So we ask that you be available for the whole weekend until we can get it scheduled. If you have a conflict, please let us know. If a conflict comes up after you submit your application, you can email me and I can on the back end add that information to your application. What else should we know about you or your work? Please share anything you want. We are committed to being diverse, so please tell us about yourself and the people involved in your work. Just because we want to make sure that we have all different kinds of folks represented at the festival. Is your project a premiere, world, regional? We love work that has not been seen like a month before, also in Charlotte. So we love more things but that doesn't mean you won't get in if you are submitting or are sharing something you've done recently. We just want to know, is the work original or we are pretty committed to that being most of the work being created by the artist that is performing it. If you are using a published play or music that is by an artist other than yourself, please share with us why you want to sell that, because we're really interested in work that's being created by the artist creating it. If this is an adaptation, do you have the rights to perform all the material? Do you have the rights to all content, including music? If you don't have the rights to the music, that is not necessarily a no. We just want to know. It might inform like where we feel like is a good fit for it. If writing is not your thing, we totally understand that. You can, give us a couple pieces of information on the required things and then submit also a video of you talking about your work. So you can just record on your phone, upload it to YouTube, share the YouTube link with us of you, talking about answering some of these questions. We want to make sure that this is really open and accessible. And I know that I'm a dancer because writing is not the thing that I do. There's also a place to upload a file here. And then we also would love to see a sample of your work. This does not have to be the work that you're submitting. It can be something you've already completed or done in the past, or it could be a rehearsal or in process, submission of what you are working on for the festival. Either one is fine. And there's a place to upload, or you can add a link. So whichever works best, and then submit. So that is the intersection application. Let me see if here we go. So this is how you get to it. You go to the Boom website, Boom 2023. Here is a brief description of Fringe, a brief description of Intersection, and you can click on either application. So this is the Fringe application. Again, I'll go through this briefly. There's a lot of overlap between the two. Fringe is new original work that is edgy, unique, outside of the norm, underrepresented locally, provocative, and inspiring. So if there's not another space where you can share your work in Charlotte, we want to be that space. Even if it maybe doesn't fall into some of these other categories. But again, just tell us that and tell us why Boom is the right fit for your work. The applications for Fringe are due December 2nd, because we know that some artists are going to create the work specifically for Boom, and these are longer form. We want to give people plenty of time to complete the work before the festival. So we will notify artists no later than January 15th. These artists get 75% of the ticket sales for their show. So you want to really promote your work. If you're submitting something that's like 20 minutes that you're hoping to be paired with other artists to make a showcase, then again, you will get 30% of 75%. And but we saw last year that those shows brought in more audience because there's 3 different people that are promoting them, or 3 different groups that are promoting them instead of just one. Again, I mentioned there's going to be, we're really interested in site-specific works at Camp North End. So if you have a space at Camp North End that you think is really interesting and want to create an original work for that site, let us know. And again, we may create a separate application for that later on, but feel free to go ahead and apply if you've already got an idea, and you can apply in whichever space you think is the right fit, probably Intersection. Again, short form, 15 to 20 minutes, or full-length Fringe work is 45 to 60 minutes. Venues will be non-traditional spaces that we will transform into theaters for the weekend. So the lower your tech needs, the better. Maybe we'll have a projector and screen in one of the venues. Again, we'll do our best to meet your needs, but we also have to recognize our own capacity. We're a very small organization. And the shows run quickly back to back. So there might be one show from 1 to 2 and another show at 2:30. So you need to be able to set up and break down your show pretty quickly. We don't know for sure that we'll have storage space at the venues. So just think about all of those things as you're thinking about how many props and all of that kind of thing that you might need. Again, we will promote the festival as a whole. You will have your own page on the festival website, each artist, Intersection 2, but it is your responsibility to promote your show, and you get 75% of the ticket sales. So obviously, the more promoting you do, the more money you bring in. It takes us a while to cut checks. So this is true for Intersection 2. It may take up to 8 weeks after the festival before you get your check. There's a lot of checks to be cut. Again, we're a really small organization and we have a lot of things to wrap up from the festival. So I know that's no fun waiting for the money, but it's, I just want to be realistic from the start, because that's the reality of it. Again, here's my email address. Okay, so same thing at the beginning. It's going to have your email. We'll take the email that you write down. It has, some of this basic information, a lot of the same questions. Here's a new one. What makes your work a good fit for Boom Fringe as opposed to Intersection? So why does it belong in the Fringe section? Why is it not part of the mainstream? Why is it unconventional, peripheral, or extreme? Edgy or original? What risks are you taking as an artist or group in creating this work? Maybe you're trying something you've never tried before. Maybe you're collaborating with a new artist that you've never collaborated before. Tickets are only $10, so we recognize the possibility of taking a risk and it not really working. But Boom is the place for that to happen. And we're really interested in creating that space, though we hope it does work and it's really awesome. Genre. This is my work is short form, fringe length, title of work, written or created by, describe your show in 200 words, size of the cast. Again, if applicable, it might just be one. Again, Fringe is more for performing arts, though we're open to the opportunity that a visual artist could present in Fringe. Just sell it to us. Tell us your idea and we will see what we can do. This asks more questions about your tech needs. Like, do you need a dance floor? What could you work with minimally? And then like, what would you really like to have possible in the space? Again, about the schedules, again, about the premiere. Is the work original? Do you have rights to the music? This may be something we take into consideration for Fringe more so than Intersection. Is your performance family friendly? Again, it's okay if it's not. We just want to know. It might affect where we schedule it during the day. What else should we know about your show? Again, you can video yourself answering these questions or audio record yourself answering these questions and share your answers that way with us. And there's also a space for the work sample. The work sample is very important for Fringe because we really want to see like what kind and what quality of work. We select about 10 artists for Fringe, so it is a much more competitive application. Intersection, we will have, between 60 and 100 artists probably. So, but we will get many more applications for Intersection than we will for Fringe. So they're both competitive, I guess. Okay. I'm sorry, I should have told you I was stopping the share. Manoj, anything else you want to add about those applications?
Yeah, so, at Fringe, as Cameron said, we have tried to provide a, platform for people who cannot otherwise. I mean, a lot of small companies, individual artists, it's hard for them to showcase, have their own like rent booth theater and do their own show for the weekend. So we try to be that place where people can, take their work to the next level and share it with a broader audience. So the Fringe, we encourage mostly new shows or shows that not been shown in Charlotte. Whereas Intersection, because we don't need to be that selective, it can be stuff which has been shown here before, shared before. And Fringe shows, I think you mentioned already, you get to do that show 3 times over the weekend. So, yeah. Elise had a question, Cameron, in the chat.
Great, thanks Manoj for pointing that out. Sorry, I missed this and what defines site specific. Limited intersection performances are available to Fringe. Oh, if you don't have a website, just put NA or your favorite social media. That's fine. We want to share whatever you want to share. Like it's what's going to go on our page, and we just want to share what you want to share. So, and the review committee might look at it too. So whatever the best thing to share for you is, Elise, it's fine if it's not a website. And then, oh, okay. I think you got your answer for site specific. Yeah, I think it could be Fringe. I just don't know how we would manage selling tickets. I mean, again, we're open to ideas. One year we had one of our Fringe shows was inside a giant inflatable igloo that was out on the corner of the street. And we just had to like work that in, and we had to add an extra ticket person, but it was possible. So I think we're open to ideas. That is harder to do as a Fringe show because of that, because we want to have it be like something where you have to buy tickets. And if it's site specific, it might be harder to control the audience space. Priya says, can the same applicant apply for both intersection and Fringe? Sure. You probably won't get into both. We would probably make a choice on the best one. It would be really hard to present at both anyway. Like that would be a scheduling nightmare because the Fringe show happens 3 times over the weekend. We have in the past, and we're considering doing it this year, having an opportunity for the Fringe shows to preview their work at intersection or at a preview party on Thursday night. So they can get people interested in coming to see their show and spending the money to buy the tickets. Yeah, we're open for questions. And if you would like to put it in the chat, feel free. Or if you just want to raise your hand or unmute yourself, that's also good. Yeah, go Priya.
So I have a question is, see, when it comes to Indian traditional dance, Indian classical dance, it's based on mythological stories, or like Satriya dance is created like 550 years ago, a Vaishnavite monk, and then it has been practicing inside the monasteries, and now we have taken out from the monasteries and we are trying to promote and present into the to the world. So I don't have the rights, but we are allowed to perform. So in terms of those kind of presentations or those kind of pieces, how should I write? Of course, when it comes to the composition, then we recomposed the same in a different structure, or but the originality is there because we are following a tradition. So how do I define when it comes to the owning the piece or the having the right copyright something? So what should I write on that question?
I would say that doesn't apply, Priya. I think that's more specifically, so I would say you don't need to worry. You could say, yes, we have the rights. That's more of like if you're playing a recorded artist's music, and if we were to like share a snippet of your work online, it might get muted, or somebody might get mad at us for using it. I think for things like that, where you have permission to be a part of the, to share that work, and that I would, and it's probably not copyrighted, right? It's a tradition.
It's a tradition, yes.
Right. So I would say that doesn't apply to that. That's a great question, though.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, so I mean, it should, so this year, I don't know if you know Kaustavi Sarkar, who's a professor at UNCC. So she did a wonderful piece, which is again, based on traditional. So that should be an issue. So we really try to be the space where we could showcase whatever is in the fringes. So a lot of the traditional arts in India, it's the opposite of the fringe. It's usually the establishment kind of forms. But when it comes to the US, a lot of the traditional things from foreign countries are in the fringes of the mainstream culture. And we definitely try to make the space for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Priya. There's a couple questions in the chat. Elise asked, do you know what areas will be transformed for fringe spaces? Last year we used the event space, which is like a wide open space that was right next to the boiler yard. That space is now a bar. So we won't be using that space anymore again, but something big and open we're hoping for. We don't have a confirmation yet, which there'll be like one space that's bigger and more open for dance. And then we used Dup and Swat and McFly Fresh, which is a screen printing space. We may use it. We don't have the fringe spaces confirmed, but I suspect it will be something like that. At least one location will have a dance floor. I was thinking that bar would be perfect. I mean, if you can get them to sign on, like, let me know. We would just, because they would have to close so that we can sell tickets. So that would be the thing. But you're welcome to start that conversation and I will be there for it. Carolina asked, is there a possibility to have aerial points on the inside of the performance space? That is a great question, Carolina. Again, these, the fringe locations have not been, we don't have them nailed down yet. We're working on that and hopefully we'll have it before the end of the submission period. So I don't know the answer to that question. If that's something you're interested, definitely include that in your application and we can ask. We were able to set up an aerial rig in the intersection space last year. Aerial Charlotte brought their rig and also Spectre and Sable brought their rig. So there is space for like, you know, a rig out in the intersection space for sure. Thanks for asking. Anybody else?
Michael has his hand raised.
Oh, thank you. Michael, go.
Indeed, I do, but I'll lower it now. So I would like to present a duo painting performance. It would be me and another artist. But that opens the door to something else happening at the same time, like a musical group or a poetry reading or whatever. So, which I don't have my hands on yet. So would you suggest I get my hands on that before I present, before I do the application, or would you guys be willing to put us somewhere where we would be doing that at the same time as someone else?
I would say either of those are great. So if you submit before, you know, without a specific person in mind, then we'll probably pair it with something or find somewhere where it fits and there's other things happening. If you find someone you're interested in like vibing off of specifically the music or poetry that they're doing and you want to include that, that would also be great. So just
Okay.
be clear in the application. We will get, oh, go ahead, Manoj.
No, looks like you already might have a taker. Elise is asking if it's dance and that she's in the chat.
Yeah, if you're interested in the dancer, she's in.
Oh, sure. Okay. All right, Elise. Well, give me your email in the chat. And I'll
So,
get
you know, that's one of the, amazing things that happens at Boom. Like artists from different mediums kind of discover each other. So many amazing collaborations have come out of Boom. And it's just part of the reason why we do the thing in the first place. And also, as Cameron was saying, encourage artists to be there the weekend, not just come perform and leave. We want that intentional kind of mixing to happen because we feel that's so important. So a few opportunities for that in Charlotte and so important for, the artistic growth for us as a city. Sorry, go ahead, Cameron.
No, that's great. Exactly. Mahalakshmi, you put in what is EAD needed, and I don't know what that means. What's EAD? Work authorization. Oh, in terms of payment. So we take W-9s usually from folks and pay as a contract employee. If that is a problem for you, we will work with you to make it happen. Your status is not going to be an issue with you getting paid. We'll figure it out.
I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
So in the rare instance that we don't get anybody else to work with, and we do pre-recorded canned music, are there rights issues there?
We have allowed it in the outdoor intersection space more. I mean, often dancers are creating work to record music that's not by artists they have gotten copyright permission for. So I think, like, we're not totally against that. I think it'd be more awesome if we either you found someone to pair with or we We did some of that last year. We found, oh, this would be cool with this, and then sort of put them together. So I think that's an option as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. There's all kinds
Yeah,
of
the intersection is mostly performing arts, so I don't think it'll be too hard to find, put you somewhere, as long as you're okay with it, pair you with some performance on the stage where you could be doing this while that's going on. So
Okay.
I feel that it shouldn't be too hard.
Well, I'm going to get together with Elise and we'll figure something out.
Woohoo!
So and also, so one of the challenges with us, mostly focused on performing arts, partly because Fringe as a the whole Fringe Festival series is mostly performing arts focused, and also we never had space for proper kind of gallery space for a visual art show. However, like live painting, live art creation, that's always a possibility. So it's still hard, even though there's plenty of outdoor space at Camp Northern, there's still not much space for a traditional visual art show, like a painting or sculpture show. However, yeah, this kind of live kind of stuff, it should be much easier for us to incorporate.
And Michael, just some logistics on that. We create the space. We don't have materials for that, or really a way to transport materials. If there was something you were having a problem with, we would love to work with you on it. But if you bring your own easel and materials, sometimes we also have a small budget to pay for additional materials like that, and not always. So just
and what about
and it's a very small budget.
So, well, yeah, I mean, I'm sort of planning on bringing everything, but if there were a wall in the back of the stage, that would be ideal for a canvas to be put up on.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that. I would say those logistics probably don't need to be figured out before you submit. And then as we start, as a core team sort of goes and looks at the space and sort of decides where is a good spot for each of the things that have been presented, we'll be able to circle back with more information and then do some problem solving. Great.
I have a question. So kind of in the same vein, I'd like to present poetry, not my own, like somebody else's poetry, and write it on a wall with recycled plastic letters. But I don't have the poetry myself. I'd have to partner with somebody.
I'm just going to shout out Lady V Poetry and Jay Ward, who are on the call. So there's two poets right here, but we've also worked with a bunch of other poets in the past. So if you were interested in presenting that work, you didn't find somebody to work with before, you could submit the application and then we could help find a poet that would be a good fit. Maybe somebody that's also presenting in the festival.
And we would have to be in charge of the full setup, so the full installation, like actually installing it on a wall, or like how does that part work?
Yeah, I mean, we will have some volunteers to help with setup and stuff for the whole festival, but we're trying to organize. We're having to create 3 venues and set up the outdoor festival, and there's so many moving parts. So again, we want to help you in as much way as we can, but I don't want to promise more than we have the capacity to support you. Something like an installation might be possible to do earlier in the week, and then there might be more, we're not going to set up the venues and stuff until Wednesday and Thursday, but if we could go ahead and install your work on Monday, we might be able to find some different volunteers to help with that. But if you know some volunteers, feel free to encourage them. Okay. Yeah, we're happy to help problem solve those things. We are going to be really careful about not promising more than our capacity will allow us to give you.
Okay, so we need to have kind of figured out how it would stand in the installation, and kind of so that the minimal amount is done on site. Is that what you
so
yeah.
Our festival starts on a Friday evening and wraps up on a Sunday evening. So everything needs to go up and come down within that time frame.
Yes.
So, yeah, because we cannot leave anything, or we don't have too much. Basically, they don't give us the space until Friday. So yeah, everything needs to happen. But as Cameron said, during the festival, we usually have a lot of volunteers to help set up and unload and all that stuff. So most of that, usually works pretty smoothly.
Okay.
And Hadia, I would say submit the idea, and then we can talk about problem solving that
Gotcha.
piece if and when you get into the festival too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
MJ,
And, yeah.
you're still on mute. But my God, your life is amazing. This is awesome.
Thank you. I'm working. I'm teaching myself lighting. Okay. But my question is, so as a musical artist, so we would need to, do we need to provide our own like sound person, and different things like that? Or is it a plug and play where if I have a band, they can just plug in their stuff and go from there?
Our goal is to have a plug and play, especially intersection. We'll have
Okay.
more sound equipment because most of the bands will be at the intersection stage.
Okay.
We have a tech, and Carolina had this question as well. So we'll have a tech at the intersection stage and one at each of the fringe venues. If you have something very specific, you might need to bring it. This is a sort of like, I wouldn't worry so much about this in the application process, but you're just trying to like, is this actually possible for sure? So I would say that, once we get closer to the festival, the tech will reach out and say, this is what I have. These are the kinds of cords I have. This is the way you can connect to my the amps that are on site, the speakers that are on site, all that. If there's something outside of that you need, we will try to get it. We rent some AV equipment. If we can't get it, that would be the only time you would need to add it, right? If it's something specific that like only you are going to need, like somebody might bring a instrument that nobody else is using that needs a certain kind of connection, then we would ask that person brings that cord. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally.
But we'll have a basic, especially on the intersection stage, there will be basic. Carolina asked, for fringe performances, do we have tech people for the show? There will be a tech at each venue. Just remember they're running 3 shows. They're probably running 3 shows. We usually have 3 to 4 shows in each of the 3 venues, and each show runs 3 times. This is for fringe specifically. So if you have like a ton of cues and a ton of like prop changes and stuff like that, you may need to have another person that you're bringing with you. But for basic like press play, change the lights up, lights down, that stuff is run by the tech for that show. And again, but I think as like bare minimum tech wise as you can, and then we can troubleshoot some some questions after the submission process. There's another question in the chat. Is there an age limit? If in a dance drama requirement is for a kid, would that be allowed? Yes, we definitely have performances. Kids as part of the performances. We have whole kid groups performing. So absolutely, kids are welcome. We just, if you want to let us know, so we make sure we don't like pair you with a, piece about suicide or something. So we'll make sure we have the what's happening around you be age appropriate. Any other questions?
Jay or Kia, I know we are at an hour. Jay or Kia, do you have anything to add? And
I'll just reiterate something that Cameron said before, which is on your applications, just be as specific as possible. It was a really good tip when she said to have somebody else review it. Every year when we review the applications, there's always a few applications that we say, man, this sounds interesting. I wish I knew more about it. Or man, this seems like it might be good, but I don't understand what's happening. So be very specific in like how this is fringe or how it's experimental or how the show will go even. And then also the work samples, even if this is something new, so you don't have a work sample specific to the idea. If you have a work sample that shows that we can have confidence in your craft and your art form, then that still gives us something to base the decision on. So yeah, the work samples are very important. and just try to be as very specific and descriptive as possible when you describe what the project is.
Great tip, Jay. And then
Yeah.
I dropped my email at the bottom, in the chat. So if you need to email me, if you have any questions that you come up with after this, feel free. And then the applications are here on our website. And that's the link to the page, and it has both applications linked on that page. Unfortunately, because we're asking for some specific information on that, you have to use a Gmail, I think. So if you have any problems with the application, feel free to email me. I can send you a PDF copy of it that you can fill out if you are having trouble with the Google Drive or the Google form.
So and if any of you have to step away, that's good. That's great. I have a couple more things to add, especially for those of you who are new to this. So as Cameron was saying before, mainly about the money, the thing we all often don't want to talk about. So as Cameron said, the Fringe, that thing it's kind of a global phenomenon now. Started in Edinburgh, Scotland. Now most major cities in the US have a Fringe festival. So like Greensboro, Asheville, they've had Fringe festivals for many years. So it's just strange that Charlotte never had one. So that's how we got started. And most Fringe festivals operate kind of the same way, where, so like for Edinburgh, or like the big one, say in Philly Fringe, the artists apply, and in those cases, you have to find your own venue, find your own tech. There's usually an application fee. So here, given how hard it is for artists, and all of us are working artists here, we try to take care of all that, so you don't have to spend any of your money on that, because we know that if you have to do that, that'll be another big barrier. So we try to do that, and like most Fringe festivals, most of the money for the tickets come back to you. The tickets are only $10. We want to keep it affordable to a lot of people because, as you all know, that is often a barrier in Charlotte. So even sold out shows don't make much money, but at least, like I said, we cover all the venue expenses, tech as much as we can, so that at least pretty much most of the ticketing money goes back to the artist. For the intersection stage, because we usually have a lot more artists, like this time, even for a 2-day festival, we had overall around 60 programs. Pre-pandemic, we had over 100. So, our priority is paying the artists, but because we have to pay so many, it's usually not a big amount. And unfortunately for us, every time we plan the festival with the hope that the grants come in, the sponsorship comes in. So we are not in a position to say how much money we'll have. However, it's the thing is that, again, our priority is, so how much ever after, covering the venue expenses, tech and all that, insurance and all the many things that come with the expenses, all the other money is distributed back to the artists. And not only that, everyone you see at Boom, like, working the venues are all artists. So like Kim Parks, she was with us. She's been one of our, festival staff. So every dollar basically goes back to the arts community, to the technicians in town. And also, one more related thing. So as an artist-centered, artist-run event, we encourage people to take creative risks. Charlotte is a very risk-averse city. So if you have a crazy idea, please propose. A lot of the times, as Jay could tell you, like, the selection committee sits around saying that this sounds crazy, and we are not sure if it works, but let's give it a try. And most of the time it works. So we want Boom to be that place where you do take creative risks, try something you always wanted to try, but didn't have an opportunity in Charlotte. Do that.
Well, thanks everybody. We can't wait to see your submissions. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.